Welcome to AI Podcast. I'm Ethan, and today we're unpacking a research paper from Anthropic called Constitutional AI, Harmlessness from AI Feedback, led by Yuntao Bai with Jared Kaplan among the senior authors. If you've heard the phrase constitutional AI and wondered what it actually means in practice, this episode is for you.
Great. Before we get into the weeds, give me the bottom line. What did they really show?
The short version is this. You can train a chatbot to be less harmful and still helpful without asking humans to label what's harmful. Instead of relying on thousands of human safety judgments, the team gives the model a short set of written principles, a kind of constitution, and then uses AI to critique, improve, and judge responses according to those principles. In human tests, the resulting system reduced harmful behavior while keeping helpfulness about the same. And it did so with far less evasive, "Sorry, I can't answer that" behavior.
So the model learns not just to refuse unsafe requests, but to handle them more thoughtfully?
Exactly. It learns to steer, not just to shut down.
Who are the key people behind this?
It's an Anthropic paper. Representative authors are Yuntao Bai and Jared Kaplan, part of Anthropic's broader effort to train systems that are helpful, honest, and harmless.
All right, give me the background. Why was this needed?
Most modern chatbots are fine-tuned with human feedback, often called RLHF. Humans compare pairs of model answers and pick the better one. It works well, but it's labor-intensive and especially costly for safety judgments. There's also a side effect. When you push hard on harmlessness with human labels, models can become evasive, deflecting even reasonable questions. And it's not very transparent what values the model is actually following, because those values are hidden across a huge data set of human preferences.
Right, and people end up thinking the model is unhelpful or rigid. So what gap does this paper fill?
It aims to scale safety supervision without drowning in human labels, make the objectives explicit instead of hidden in data, and reduce evasiveness. The question is whether an AI can learn to apply a small set of clear principles and use that to become safer while staying useful.
Okay, so what did previous research try and where did it fall short?
Prior work largely leaned on RLHF, including for safety. That delivers helpful assistance, but the safety side often depends on a mountain of human comparisons. And when those comparisons optimize for do no harm, the model can overgeneralize and refuse too broadly. You also don't see the values directly. They're implicit in all those pairwise choices. This paper flips that around by writing the values down and having the model use them to guide itself.
That brings us to the core idea. What is constitutional AI in plain language?
Think of it as training in two stages, guided by a short constitution. First, supervised fine-tuning with self-critique and revision. Second, reinforcement learning from AI feedback, often called RLAIF.
Walk me through the first stage.
Start with a model that's been trained to be helpful. Give it prompts that can elicit risky or harmful answers, and let it produce a draft. Then ask the model to critique its own draft using one principle from the Constitution, something like avoiding illegal instructions or keeping a respectful tone. After reflecting, it rewrites the answer to fix the issues the principle flagged. The revised answer becomes training data. Over many examples, the model learns the pattern of use the principle, critique, then produce a safer, better response.
So it's learning how to edit itself with the rulebook in hand.
Exactly. That gets it on distribution before reinforcement learning begins.
And the second stage?
Now we need preference data to run reinforcement learning, but instead of asking humans to label which answer is safer, the model applies the Constitution to judge pairs of answers. It picks the one that better follows the principles, generating preference labels automatically. A reward model is trained on those AI-generated comparisons, and the assistant is optimized against that reward. Humans still contribute on helpfulness, but for harmlessness, the labels come from AI that's applying the written principles. The evaluators also write short reasons before picking, which keeps their judgments anchored and legible.
That's clever. It makes the safety side a lot more scalable.
It does. One more detail. The evaluator's confidence is tempered so they don't become overly certain and brittle. The theme is to make the guidance explicit, keep it legible, and avoid overfitting to a single safety style.
What does the Constitution actually look like? Is it a long policy document?
It's intentionally short. A handful of principles in clear language covering things like avoiding illegal instructions, reducing toxicity, being respectful, and not being accusatory. The point isn't to encode every edge case, but to give the model a compact value scaffold it can actively reference.
Got it. Let's talk experiments. What did they run at a high level?
They trained models of different sizes, up to a large one around the 52 billion parameter scale. They compared helpful-only fine-tuning conventional RLHF baselines that target both helpfulness and harmlessness, and the constitutional approach in both the supervised and reinforcement learning stages. For evaluation, crowd workers did pairwise comparisons and were asked to prefer safer answers without rewarding unnecessary evasiveness. The team also used red team prompts to probe behavior on sensitive topics.
And what came out of those comparisons?
The constitutional approach struck a better balance between harmlessness and helpfulness. In head-to-head comparisons, models trained with the Constitution tended to be judged less harmful at similar levels of helpfulness, and they were noticeably less prone to reflexive refusals. Responses more often engaged the user safely, offering alternatives or information that reduced risk rather than just declining to respond.
That sounds like an improved user experience.
It generally is. Another benefit is transparency. Anyone can read the principles and see what the model is aiming for. With standard RLHF, the values are harder to inspect because they're distributed across countless human labels.
I like the clarity, but let's be critical for a moment. What are the weaknesses or open questions?
First, who writes the Constitution? In this paper, the principles were chosen by the research team for a research setting. That's practical, but it means the values reflect the author's judgment. For broader deployment, you'd want more stakeholder input and possibly different constitutions for different contexts or cultures.
So value pluralism is a real issue.
Yes. Second, Goodhart's law. If you optimize too hard for a proxy, here, adherence to written principles, the model can start gaming the metric. The authors noticed that overtraining sometimes produces formulaic, overly soothing language. You lose nuance.
Makes sense. What about reproducibility?
The paper provides the principles and many examples, but not full training code and model weights, which limits exact replication. Also, the evaluations focus on English and a particular mix of safety challenges. Generalization to other languages, domains, and cultures remains important to test. And while the Constitution helps reduce evasiveness, it doesn't eliminate all failure modes. It's promising, not magic.
Thanks for keeping it grounded. I'm also curious about the role of humans here. If AI is providing safety labels, are people out of the loop?
People are still central. Humans set the principles, shape helpfulness, and judge outcomes. The method is best seen as a way to scale human intent, not to remove it. It uses AI to do repetitive labeling while keeping the goals explicitly human-defined.
All right, let's look forward. Where should this line of work go next?
3 directions stand out. First, broaden participation in writing constitutions by involving domain experts, policymakers, and community representatives. Second, stress test robustness with diverse languages, cultures, adversarial prompts, and checks against boilerplate behavior. Third, make it easier to inspect and update principles so systems can adapt to new norms without retraining from scratch.
I'd add a fourth. Better ways to detect when the Constitution is missing something, like periodic audits or constitutional red team exercises to find gaps and then update the principles.
Completely agree. The framework supports amending the Constitution and then rerunning the self-critique and AI feedback steps to steer behavior accordingly.
Before we wrap up, can you give a quick recap for someone who tuned in halfway through?
Sure. The Anthropic paper, led by Yuntao Bai with Jared Kaplan among the senior authors, proposes constitutional AI. Instead of collecting vast human datasets about what is or isn't harmful, they write down a compact set of safety principles. The model first learns to critique and revise its own answers using those principles, then learns from AI-generated preference labels that apply the same principles. In tests with human evaluators, this reduced harmful behavior while preserving helpfulness and cut down on unhelpful evasiveness. The upside is label efficiency and transparency. The caveats concern whose values are encoded, risks of formulaic behavior, and the need for broader evaluation.
That's clear, and it's helpful to see a method that makes value judgments explicit. Even if you disagree with a principle, at least you can see it and debate it.
Exactly. That's a strong aspect of this approach. It moves safety supervision from a million hidden labels to a short, visible charter.
All right, that does it for today's AI podcast. Any final thought?
Just this. If we want AI systems that are both safe and useful, we need scalable supervision that still reflects human intent. Constitutional AI is a concrete step in that direction.
Thanks for listening. If you found this useful, share the episode with a colleague who cares about pragmatic AI safety. See you next time on AI Podcast.